afternoon, everyone. This meeting,
Hello.
this emergency meeting is called to order. And I'm going to ask Miss Williams, are you on?
To do what?
I'm going to ask you to give us the invocation.
Oh, okay. With bowed heads and humble hearts, Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus just to say thank you. We thank you for the first meeting of the year for the Council on Aging. We pray that you will lead, guide, and direct us in the way you would have us go, and let all things be done decent and in order. It's in Jesus' name that I ask that you bless each board member, each administrator, each employee in the name of Jesus. Amen.
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 Thank you. And I see two flags. So I'm going to ask Miss Pam, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call
I'm going to call the roll, Ms. Booker. Ms. Jerry Booker,
here.
Representative C. Denise Marcel,
Here.
Attorney Jennifer Mozont, Mr. Jamie Robertson, Mr. Jamie Robertson.
You need to unmute.
Okay.
Jamie, unmute your phone.
Dr. Derek Cole, Ms. Pamela Mitchell,
Present.
Ms. Patricia Williams,
Present.
Pastor Leo Cyrus, Attorney Stephen Schilling, Chief Carl Dunn,
Present.
Ms. Ingrid Payne, Ms. Kathy Coleman,
Present.
Councilman Chandler Lou. 8 members present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. You have seen the agenda. Are there any questions? If not, we need an adoption.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second moved by Representative Denise Marcel and second by Ms. Williams. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. No opposition, so the agenda is adopted. Are there any public comments? Public comments? Hearing none, we're going to move forward with the action items on the agenda. First, we're going to move with the financial report.
Madam Chair, for today's finance report, we have Mr. Jonathan Clark and our CFO, Ms. Eva Pratt, Mr. Jonathan Clark with LA Champagne, just to discuss do brief overview of our audit for this year.
Okay, thank you. I would like to start by saying thank you to the board for allowing us, LA Champagne, to serve the council. It's always a pleasure to work with Ms. Tasha and Ms. Eva. With that, what I would like to do is highlight some items in the financial statements and then answer any questions. So let's get started. And I always like to start by taking a look at the audit report, and that's what we have pulled up here. If you're looking, it starts right behind the table of contents, but this is where we issue our opinion on your financial statements. And if you turn to the second page of this letter, you'll see at the top the opinion paragraph, and I'll just read from there quickly. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respect the respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information for the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging as of June 30th, 2020. This is what we call a clean, unmodified opinion. From there, let's get into the statements. And I'll walk through the statements. And so if you turn to page 12. Okay, so we'll start with the balance sheet. This is the fund statement balance sheet. So you'll see across the top there, you'll see all the different funds, which begins with the general fund and then each major fund. And towards the end, there's a column, excuse me, a column for non-major funds. And this is the aggregate of all the non-major funds, which I will not go into detail, but on page 40, you can see the detail of those non-major funds. And then along the left-hand side, you see the different items that make up a balance sheet. And so let's begin with, excuse me, with assets. We have total assets at year end, and then go to the far right-hand column under the total governmental funds. You got $3.9 million in total assets at year end. That's down 1.8 from the previous year. The biggest reduction is coming in cash. So if you look up at cash, we had roughly $3.6 million in cash at year end. And that's down, that's where the 1.8 is coming from. That's down. And last year we had a cash balance of 5.5 million. Then you move down into the liability section. Total liabilities were 555,000. That's pretty much in line with the previous year. It's down 67,000. One category I want to highlight is accounts payable. At year end, we had a balance of 416,000. This is just where routine transactions with vendors flow through the accounts payable. And at year end, we had roughly $400,000 worth of vendor invoices that had not yet been paid. The largest of that, coming in at 216,000, was associated with Merchant Food, which is expected. That's your large food vendor. And then now if we go to the bottom of the balance sheet in the fund balance, I want to highlight that the $95,000 that's in the non-major, the aggregate column there towards the right, 95,000, it's in a restricted category. What you'll see is that's associated with a non-major fund called the Utility Assistance Fund. And this is money, just old money. I don't know exactly when the council quit doing this, but there was a program through Entergy, I believe, where there was a fee collected on the utility bills. And then that fee was used to fund programs to help low income individuals with their utility bills. So when that money would come into the Council on Aging, it would be restricted by the donor for that particular purpose. So at the end of the year, that balance was $95,000. The other item there in restricted is a new item. If you look under the general fund, 821,000. That is the funding under the PPP program. Once again, these were funds that came into the council, and they were restricted by the donee. These items, I think we're all familiar with the program, restricted for payroll costs, and you can use these on some other costs, utilities and rent. Now, once, and I think it's going to happen once the funding, because it starts off as a loan. Once the loan is forgiven by the SBA, then that item will not be in the restricted category anymore. Okay, from here, let's turn to page 14. Okay, on page 14, this is statement 5. This is the income statement. And once again, it's at the fund level. So across the top, you've got the same funds. And then on your left-hand column, you have the different categories and subcategories that make up your income statement. So starting with revenue, we had total revenue at year end of $13 million. That's up $900,000 from the previous year. And the two items here, if you go back to the top, under intergovernmental, this is the governor's office. This is the funding where the governor's office comes in, and state and local funding, or federal and state funding. That's up $500,000. And what we have there, it's we don't have. We had two new programs, but those were somewhat insignificant. But we had some additional funding coming there for the virus. So it was programs that the council had in grant funding they already had in line, and then there was some additional funding. I believe that came in through the CARES Act, which bumped up, that flowed through the governor's office, and then bumped up the council's intergovernmental revenue. The other item is property tax, $10 million. That's up $400,000 from the previous year. Last year we had 9.6 million, so 10 million in property tax. And then if we move down to the middle of the page, we'll take a look at the expenditures. Total expenditures for the year, 15.5 million. That's up 2.8 million from the previous year. And there's just two items here I want to highlight. Salaries and wages, just shy of 3.5 million. That's up 700,000. And capital outlay is the big one. It's 3.7 million in capital outlay. That's up 1.2. And some of the items, let's talk about some of the items in there. So the council at the end of the day capitalized 3.9 million, just shy of $4 million in capital outlay. So you got the 3.7 here, and during the year we had attorney fees, and those fees were captured in another account, the operating services account. But when they're associated with an item that you end up capitalizing, you would then bring them and not really reclass them, but they would be captured with that item that gets capitalized. So you got the 3.7, and then you have another roughly $180,000 in attorney fees that gets you to that $3.9 million that gets capitalized. And some of the big items in there is under the construction building category. So we had 400,000 on Dumas House, 238 for the administration building, 581,000 for the Main Street Senior Center. The Gus Young Fire Station had 543,000. Lotus Village, 1.5. And when you get into, then there was some miscellaneous equipment and kitchen equipment. And then vehicles, we had bought a Concord 2 2020 white bus. That was 120,000. Oh, and then the other item, there was a fairly large charge for the senior stat and the tablets. That was $202,000. So what's driving this increase in the expenditure is this increase in the capital outlay. So if you look right below, back to page 14, if you look right below the total expenses of 15.5 million, you see negative 2,500,000. That's the net loss for the year. Now, what I want to remind the board, back in fiscal year 18, which I believe was the first year that the property tax revenue flowed into the council, the council had a $6 million net income that year. So the new revenue source was coming in but expenses hadn't ramped up, and this build out of the new Capitol and the senior centers had not begun. So if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see the fund balance. We started the year at 4.8 million and we ended at 3.1. So what's going on is we're spending money in excess of current year revenue, but you have to go back to fiscal year 18 when we brought in a tremendous amount of revenue, but didn't have the expenses. So we are now starting to spend some of that money, plus some of the additional money, but that's what's the buffer to cover some of this. And so as the capital is spent, for capital outlay is spent and these buildings are built out, I imagine operating costs may go up to maintain these new assets, but the capital outlay is going to go down, and we're going to be in a position where you're not going to see these deficits year over year. So it's somewhat misleading if you just look at the 2.5 and don't know the history with the 15 point from fiscal year 18. The other item, if you look down in other financing sources, you'll see the proceeds for the PPP loan come in. That's the 821,000. So that's not up in the 13 million we were talking about. You isolate that as another financing source, which really drops that net loss from 2.5 down to 1.7 if you include the PPP funding. So, all right, from here, let's get into the notes. So if we turn to page 25, here at the top, note A, I had mentioned Lotus Village. What I wanted to talk about with Lotus Village, the council is somewhat peculiar in the fact that it's organized as a nonprofit, a 501, but it presents its financial statements as a governmental entity. So when Council on Aging established Lotus Village, which is a wholly owned LLC, that was done from the nonprofit 501c standpoint with the attorneys, and that's fine. Then it came to, okay, well, how are we going to present this in the financials? So in governmental terminology, which it's not uncommon for a government to have a wholly owned LLC for numerous reasons. So that piece of it isn't so much uncommon, but they refer to it as a component unit. So then you have to look at this LLC and determine, all right, it's a component unit, but what is the relationship between the governmental entity and this wholly owned LLC? What amount of control does the governmental unit have over the LLC, and what's the financial burden benefit relationship between the two? And after that, it was determined that the LLC would be presented as what is called a blended component unit. So back on those financials where I was highlighting the different columns for the different funds that the council operates, the Lotus Village activity is going to be blended into the general fund column. That's the first column there. It's not, you can still drill into that data under the general fund and see that Lotus Village is isolated as a component unit. It's not commingled into the larger organization, but for presentation purposes, the activity with Lotus Village as of now will be blended and reported under that column, the general fund. So in note 8A, there's some history here talking about how and some of the why and the who of the Lotus Village, and then how the council is presenting that information. All right, from here, let's turn to page 26. Note E, I just wanted to highlight, we spent some time talking about the different capital outlay during the year. Here it is broke down into some categories that the governor's office likes to see it. We have the vehicles, that's 174, 120 of that is the Concord bus, with the largest item being the buildings, 3.3 million. Okay, from here, let's go to page 30. Okay, page 30, note P. I don't typically mention anything about subsequent events. This year is somewhat different. Normally you would just have a boilerplate, that kind of last paragraph there, management evaluated. This year with the virus, we added a subsequent event here discussing the virus and some of the uncertainty with the council's vendors and the council itself, with not knowing the outcome of the virus. So I just wanted to highlight there was a change there. From here, let's go to page 31. All right, note R on 31. Here's the note on the property taxes. If you look in the second paragraph, I'd like to highlight that a total of $10 million was collected in property tax on behalf of the council. Retirement contributions were paid out of that money of $280,000, and then the city parish had some miscellaneous charges of $1,121. All right, let's get into some of the supplemental information. If you turn to page 44, every year I highlight this. The legislative auditor requires all entities that report to them to also designate what's called an agency head. It's the CEO, Tasha, is the agency head, and then you have to report all public funds paid to that agency head. I highlight this, it's a public document. I'd like everybody to be aware that this information's in there. Okay, let's go to page 50. We'll get into the findings. That's the last thing I had to talk about. No new findings. This is a finding that's carried forever. It's been here since, I would imagine, the council moved into its building down in Florida. It's more of a technicality. The insurance, they're required to have $5 million. Based on the value of the building, $2.5 million is the insurance policy. Really no harm or foul, except that we have to report this finding here. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Great report. Y'all excuse us, in between board meeting, we're also getting COVID testing, the whole staff.
See, I didn't know what was going on.
I don't know if you just noticed, they just tested me in between the meeting, and now they're testing Miss Pratt. So there's a lot going on in here.
Yes.
You know, we do it every couple of weeks because of who we work with, and we're doing we're giving out vaccinations tomorrow, so we have to make sure we're all clear when we go down the seniors tomorrow. With that being my nose is running.
How many people go, hey, you do work for council? And I go, yeah. So can you get me my father to the head of the line on the vaccine? I go, no, I don't think I can do that. So I think a lot of people, yeah, they know you're out there doing it.
Yeah. So excuse that. Anyway, any questions you all as it relates to the audit? One thing that I can say is we are, wrapping up some of our projects. As you know, we have completed the fire station. We have completed the Lotus Center, and we are completing, we're in the process of doing the administration building. So we will see some capital outlay finally go down, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 more villages. But other than that, and we're about to start Lotus Village 1, and we'll be talking about that right after this. And so we'll see that tick back a little bit.
now that Zoom and all this, but I imagine you guys still want a bound copy of this report. I don't know that, Eva, do you know how many copies you may want?
We sent it electronically, but we probably need, Ms. Pratt, you muted. How many bound copies you want, Ms. Pratt?
I was going to see if I can send as many e-copies as possible.
Sure.
But I don't have an exact number now who prefers a bound copy. I'll
Okay.
get Trudy to find out for me, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, and like if you just want a bound copy to keep in a file or something,
Yeah,
I know.
I will need about 5 or 6 because I want to send one to our bank. They want
Sure.
a bound copy. But I was going to have Trudy poll the board to see how many would prefer a bound copy as opposed to e-copy.
Okay, I'll get working on 5 or 6 of them, and then you can let me know.
I'll let you know.
Sure.
Okay.
If no, Madam Chair, if no questions for Jonathan, then we're gonna release him from the rest of this great meeting.
Okay, we'll release it. Any
All right.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jonathan.
guys.
questions?
Tasha, we will need a motion to accept his report.
Madam Chair.
Can I get a motion for acceptance of the report?
This is
I make a
Pam.
motion.
I
Just
so moved.
audit-
Second. Representative Marshall, second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Pam and second by Representative Marcel that we, for the acceptance of the report. Are there any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No opposition. Acceptance of the report is granted. Okay, we're gonna move on to, we did the financial report.
You have a finance, Ms. Pratt?
Yeah, I have just a summary report I'd like to present. In reference to the audit, he did mention that we have the PPP loan that we had applied for. We have applied for forgiveness on that loan, and we're just waiting for an answer. But we don't see any reason why it would not be forgiven, but we have not received official notification yet, but we have applied for it. We also submitted a claim to FEMA for reimbursement of some expenses that we had in association with the COVID pandemic. We submitted a claim for $343,000. And after speaking with them a couple of weeks ago, they told us that we were only approved for like 10,000 of that 343.
And
They
tell
said
them
that
what
they
you
had-
told them. And what did you tell them, Ms. Pratt?
I told them they could keep that, is what I said, because the 10, I don't know where I asked if they changed the guidelines on us, because what we submitted were expenses that, according to what they had told us previously, were allowable. Then all of a sudden, she said, well, no, they didn't change the guidelines. They just more strict with them or something, she said. It didn't make sense. So I told her just keep it. That's not the final thing. They're going to review it again, and probably won't get any more than the 10,000, but that's how I felt about it, because there's a lot of work went into that. We did a lot of work during that pandemic, and them to give us $10,000, we'll pay for nothing. But anyway, another thing I want to say, last year, the city had asked all organizations that receive millage, except for the emergency preparedness people, like EMS, police, fire department, to take a reduction in their millage. It's a temporary thing. We signed a letter for like 1 year, and our millage was reduced from 2.25 to 2.13, but that's like 0.120%. But the amount of money that we would get is going to be equivalent to or more than what we actually got last year. And that I'll say, so we won't be getting any less money. And that's all due to that assessment. You know, most of you probably know that all of your properties were assessed higher, much higher in 2020. So because of that, they got more money. So they were able to, we're still gonna get, we're projecting about 10,068,000. And last year we got 10,017,000. So it'll be around the same amount of money that we're expecting to get. One point I want to make, when he mentioned about our deficit of 2.5 million, I want you to know that's all based on our prior year commitment. And like you said, that first year in 18, when we got our original money, we had a lot of plans for our construction costs. We didn't spend it all. As a matter of fact, we're still spending. So you're going to see that until construction is completed. Okay, so those are prior year commitments that we're spending down on. And as far as the Lotus Village is concerned, he talked about the condensed unit or whatever he calls it. Well, we're planning, I talked to him about that. We're planning to, since Lotus Village is about to kick off, we're planning on setting up a separate set of books for Lotus Village in QuickBooks. So we won't have to we want to blend the units anymore, as he said. So next year, yeah, we will have a separate set of books for Lotus Village, because they said it is an LLC, but it's an LLC under the Council on Aging as a 501c3, not as a governmental agency. We are a quasi-governmental agency, but everything is based on our 501c3. So that's how we were able to set up our Lotus LLC. I think that's all I have, unless you guys have questions about something, anything else. But that's all I wanted to share with you, in addition to the audit.
All right.
There are no questions. We're gonna move on to the Lotus Village overview.
Okay, what we want to do, Madam Chair, is we'll give you a brief overview and update where we are on the Lotus Village, and Tim will do that. But before we do that, I want to introduce you all. I know you see a new face in your screen. You should see Ms. Kathy Laborde. She is the president and CEO and chief of everything for Gulf Coast Housing, who is our development partner, who will be doing overseeing all the construction, the building, the development, and overseeing the project for Lotus Village, with the exception of letting me pick all the colors and finishes and the design. Other than that, Kathy will take the helm on everything. So I wanted to introduce you all to the infamous Miss Kathy Laborde, who builds everything affordable housing. She's well known across this city and state. So thank you for joining the meeting. So she'll be here to answer your questions. Tim's just going to give a quick overview as we understand it, and then we're going to get into the meat of all of these resolutions that we need to sign, because we're headed to closing this week. Okay. All right, Tim.
Okay, so as you all know, Lotus Village has been a project we've been working on here for some time. It consists of 116 one-bedroom units. It'll be 58 buildings throughout Lotus Village 1, 2, and 3. Recently here, we completed an iSpud application, which is a small planned unit development application. And so it allows us to draw all of the different parcels of land into 3 large parcels of land, which will be Lotus Village 1, Lotus Village 2, and Lotus Village 3. So on January 19th, the Planning Commission unanimously voted to send approval of the iSpud application to the Metro Council, and in return, they approved the application as well. So once we close on this project, which we expect to close mid-February, we will be shovel ready. What I mean by shovel ready is we'll have a permit in hand, essentially ready to build. So next, I'll show you a couple of the different models that we have, and then we'll go through the resolutions. So this is type 1. They'll be placed a lot throughout Lotus Village 1. I saw a lot of those. And this is type 2. And they're all 1-bedroom, ADA accessible units, aging in place. Yeah, porches are on the front, yes. This is type 3. And as you see there, we didn't want to create them all to be just identical, so that you're not just looking at a whole bunch of the same design throughout the village. We want it to be a little bit different. And this is my favorite, type 6. That's your favorite? Yeah. Okay, at closing, the council will be reimbursed for land purchase costs. So everything that we paid on land, we will get that back, including legal fees. And we are slated to receive a good development fee. The amount of the development fee is not final yet, but we should get it when we get a settlement sheet. And now we can go through the resolutions. Oh yeah, so this project is, well, you'll see it on the resolutions. It's a $22 million project, and there are made up from different sources.
Okay, so these are the different sources for the construction loan. And so I have Kathy on here because I'm sure you'll have questions as it pertains to this money. And so you can answer directly. But we have a LIHTC equity loan that is coming from, I think it comes from LHC.
Tasha,
Go ahead,
if you don't mind, I'll walk folks through this.
please.
The LIHTC equity, we won the credits from Louisiana Housing Corporation, and then the investor who's going to invest in the transaction and actually receive the credits is National Equity Fund. We have worked with the National Equity Fund for a long time. They're a reputable syndicator, and they typically like to work with nonprofits.
Okay.
The permanent debt provider, this is a tax exempt bond transaction. So what actually happens is there's a bank, Cedar Rapids is going to buy those bonds. The bonds provide construction financing, and Cedar will also then become the permanent lender. Okay, so the transaction will end up with, on your sources, you see just a little under $2.7 million in permanent debt. And then the next line, the $10 million, that was awarded to the transaction from the Louisiana Housing Corp. And it's actually being administered by the state's Office of Community Development as well as Louisiana Housing Corp. And so that's $10 million that will flow into the deal. And then we have been awarded a grant from the Federal Home Loan Bank System, Dallas, of $750,000. We tried for Atlanta. We did not win. We will try again if we need it. And then what would happen if, in fact, we win that, we have a placeholder debt instrument. There's one already for GCHP. That's how the Dallas money is getting into the transaction. If we go after more, we would funnel it through East Baton Rouge. And so you see that placeholder with no dollars next to it. Right now, we don't anticipate that need to be funded, but there are, as you can imagine, this is a pretty complex transaction with multiple attorneys involved. And so it's in everybody's best interest if we all negotiate these documents up front before the closing. And that way we don't have to go back and get their feedback later on and generate more legal bills. Any questions about the sources and uses? And Tasha, I'd like to make a clarification with regard to the development fee. I think it's important that you all know no syndicator will release a development fee up front. Okay. What happens is they embed hurdle points. The closing will be released a portion of the fee. Mm-hmm. When the construction is finished, okay, and that's about a year later, we'll get another portion of the fee. And then the rest of the portions are doled out based upon evidences that allow the investor to actually take the credit, pieces of paper they need to get that would come from us through LHC, and that would generate the balance of the fee. So you're going to get the fee over a period of, say, 2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. That's good to know.
As Tim mentioned, at closing, you will get your acquisition monies reimbursed, and you will get as much of the legal fee monies reimbursed as the deal can possibly hold.
Okay.
This is Representative Marcel. I do have a question. Am I understanding you correctly that at the closing, some of the acquisition fees and legal fees will be reimbursed at that time, and then there's going to be a period of a couple of years as we move forward with this project that we get funds back? Is that what I'm hearing? Because it was like a little echo.
Please let me know if my voice is clear. You're really going to have 2 closings, right? You all set up that LLC to be the land holder and have acquired land, and that LLC is holding that land. That land will be sold to the partnership that's actually going to build the units. When that land is sold to the partnership, the LLC, which is owned 100% by COA, will recover its acquisition money, okay? It will recover then at the closing, and well, I'm hesitating. I'm not sure when the legal fees get reimbursed, either at the land closing or at the full closing with the partnership. But regardless, it happens sooner than later. You will also get at the full financial closing on the partnership, the entity that's building the units, you'll get a portion of the development fee. I truly don't remember what it is. It's probably going to be about 20% or 25%. So whatever, 20% of 1.4, that's what you could expect to receive at the closing, in addition to the other money reimbursed.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
You're welcome.
You want to go to the org chart? Okay, and Kathy, if you could just, so when we get ready to read these resolutions, just to kind of go over this org chart, the high important part. So when I read the resolutions, they'll know what we're talking about.
Okay. I'm going to point you to the top of the chart under the words Lotus Village. That block says owner/taxpayer. So Lotus Village LP, that's going to be the ownership entity that purchases the land from your LLC. And that LP, that Lotus Village Limited Partnership, will actually own that real estate and then build the units. Once they're completed, which the terminology is placed in service, once they're placed in service, GCHP Management, which is a property management company that we own, will be the property manager. And hopefully, everything goes according to plan, which generally it doesn't, but that's what we expect to happen, okay? So under that owner taxpayer, you can see who the organization, that partnership has contracted with, okay? I believe you all know the architect, okay? So we have a contract. The partnership has a contract with Merrill Poche, and he is fast and furiously doing everything we need to do to get this thing kicked off. I mentioned the property manager. The construction contract was awarded to Cobalt Construction. We actually invited 8 different contractors to bid. 4 did, and Cobalt ended up being the winning construction company. They are working currently for us over at Elysian. They're building Elysian 3 as we speak. And then the council who has represented the partnership, meaning they're representing East Baton Rouge COA as a partner in the partnership and GCHP as a partner in the partnership. Mm-hmm. The firm is Coates Rose, and they specialize, in tax credit financing. And Kelly Longwell and Ben Geider are the attorneys that are working with us and reviewing all the documents. On the left side of that line, okay, we mentioned Cedar Rapids, right? They're buying the bonds, the tax exempt bonds. So Cedar Rapids has really 2 roles. They're a construction lender and a perm lender. Mm-hmm. Louisiana Housing Corporation, money is ever free. Okay, so that $10 million that we won from Louisiana Housing Corp is actually lent to the project, and they will have a lien and they will get cash flow to fund the repayments to them. The third lien would be those AHP funds or any funds that cannot get reimbursed to COA. We'd be in third position and we would share that. Okay, any questions about those particular items? Okay, I'm going to stay on the partnership side for a minute. So keep going down. If you go to your immediate right, you see the box says investor member. That's National Equity Fund. If you may remember, I said they're the ones that are going to invest in the partnership to get the credits. And you can see that number, 99.99, means really what we're doing. We are transferring, because both COA and GCHP, we're both nonprofits. The tax credits have no value to us when we file our tax return, okay? So we really want to bring an investor in and allow that investor to have as much of that tax credit as possible. Okay, and so you'll see there, and it might seem unfair, but it's not. There's a logic to this, okay? So the 99.99% investor member is National Equity Fund, NEF Assignment Corp. And if you go way over to the left, you'll see the general partner then owns 0.01%, okay? And it's a bit befuddling, but if you read all the loan documents, with that 0.01%, you have control, okay? And so you have control, just like any bank mortgage, until you do something so egregious that you lose control. Okay, and so I just assure you that we've never lost control in a transaction. We have purchased interest in partnerships where the GP did not perform. Okay, so this does happen. It's very rare, but so it's important that we structure them to allow the partnerships to go on, even if one of us screws up. Okay, so that general partnership interest is then shared. GCHP is in control, and I'm as transparent with you as I can be. As long as our money is at risk, we're in control, and that's through the manager's position. And you can see in that upper box to the left, it says manager, GCHP, Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, LLC. And then underneath the general partner box, you see Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, Inc. and East Baton Rouge Council on the Aging, Inc. We both have a 50-50 share in that GP interest, okay? And then the actual entity that does the day-to-day work is the manager, GCA, Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, LLC. Going to the very top, the partnership, Lotus Village, has a contract, a development services agreement with GCHP, and GCHP has a contract with East Baton Rouge Council on the Aging. So that is the way the development money, development fee money flows through a contract from the taxpayer, which is the partnership, to GCHP and to Council on Aging. Any questions on the org chart?
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It's important for you to focus, if I may. Okay, you have Lotus Village LP, right? And so you're going to have resolutions for that. And this board is empowering, as your auditor had highlighted, you all set up the LLC to serve certain purposes, which it did, was to acquire and hold the land. Now we're going to the full financial closing. We very much hope that this will happen next week. The thing that we are waiting for is called a notice to proceed. It's simply, we're waiting for HUD to let LHC know that the monies, the CDBG funds, can be released to the partnership and we can close. So assuming that happens next week, the LLC will sell the land and then the LP will close with all its financial partners. So you're looking at resolutions that authorize your entity to engage in the transactions that I just talked about with you, okay? The resolutions may be a little bit unfamiliar to you in that they really are crafted. It is not just our attorney's sets of eyes, it's 5 council sets of eyes. So they, we generate it, and I would caution you, you might, I'm not sure what your government protocols allow, in terms of your governance protocols allow, excuse me. There may be some tweaking, wordsmithing that happens between now and the closing. And then I would caution you to allow your, whoever is the authorizing rep for the organization to be granted a little bit of flexibility to wordsmith to the extent it's needed. And I'm very serious when I tell you, when you have 5 different attorneys, they all have a different way of deciding how a sentence needs to be written. Okay. So, sometimes substantive changes are one thing, but non-substantive, just trying to make everybody happy is another. And that's really what I'm asking you to have enough flexibility, allow for non-substantive changes.
Okay, so with that being said, Madam Chair, if we can do some things out of protocol, normally the secretary would read these, but because we're on Zoom and I know that he is on his phone, I don't know how clear he will be today. I'm gonna read these into the record. I've been advised by counsel that we should read them in its completion, in its entirety. They are relatively long, so I'm gonna take my time and I'm gonna read each one. And then we'll have to have a motion, Madam Chair, on each individual resolution. Okay, all right. So first one is a resolution of the Board of Directors. The undersigned, the corporate secretary of East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, Inc., a Louisiana nonprofit, the corporation, constituting member of the Lotus Village GP, LLC, a Louisiana limited liability company, the general partner of Lotus Village LP, a Louisiana limited partnership, the partnership, does hereby certify the following is a resolution which has been duly adopted at a meeting of the Board of Directors of the corporation duly noted and properly called. Whereas the partnership is engaged in the acquisition, development, construction, and placing into service an affordable housing rental project to be known as the Lotus Village Senior Apartments located in the East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana, which is known as the project. Whereas the corporation is the sole member of the EBR COA Lotus Village LLC, and Louisiana Limited Liability, the seller, which is the current owner of the property on which the project shall sit, and which property the seller shall sell to the partnership for a purchase price of, and this will be blank and we'll fill that in at closing, by an act of cash sale, the act of cash sale, and whereas in the connection with the acquisition, construction, development, and operation of the project, the partnership purposes to finance the project with a construction to permanent loan, the bond loan from the proceed of issuance, sale, and delivery to Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust Company and Iowa State Chartered Banking Corporation, CRBT, of those certain multifamily housing revenue bonds issued by the Louisiana Housing Corporation in its capacity as issuer, the issuer, captioned 12,100,000 Louisiana Housing Corporation Multi-Housing Revenue Drawdown Bonds, Lotus Village Project, Series 2021. The bonds, excuse me, I think this gum out of my mouth. The bonds, an interest rate swap transaction by and between the Housing Corporation in its capacity as lender, the LAC, in the original principal amount of 10 million, the CDBG loan, a subordinate loan from Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, Inc., a Delaware nonprofit corporation, GCHP, in the original principal amount of $750,000, the Dallas AHP loan, and a subordinate loan from the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, Inc., Louisiana Nonprofit Corporation, the corporation with CRBT, the issuer, the LAC, GACP, and the corporation referred to herein as the project participant, the original participant amount of, and that will be on the settlement document at closing, the EBR COA loan with the bond loan, the swap, the CDBG loan, the Dallas HP loan, and the EBR COA loan referred to herein as the loans. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the corporation is authorized to enter into and deliver, and the general partner is hereby authorized to execute and deliver to the necessary partners on behalf of the partnership the act of sale and all documents necessary and incidentals to the loans, including without limitation and required promissory note, financing agreement, loan agreement, bond purchase agreement, mortgage and/or pledge and security agreement, which mortgage and/or pledge and security agreement may contain customary Louisiana terms and provisions, including but not limited to a due on sale clause, a confession of judgment, and other customary acquisition, disposition, waiver, or security clauses, which would permit, among other matters, foreclosure by executory process under Louisiana law, pledge or assignment of rents and/or leases, regulatory agreement, restrictive covenant, assignment, certificate guarantee agreement, environmental indemnity agreement, reserve agreement, subordination and/or intercreditor agreement, disclosure agreement, swap agreement, or the like, and any other agreement required by any of the project participants in connection with the loans, the loan documents, all in the sole discretion of the corporation's chief executive officer. Further resolved, all prior acts of the corporation with respect to the loans are authorized and approved. Further resolved, the partnership is authorized to use the proceeds of the loans to construct, rehabilitate, develop, and operate the project. Further resolved that the form, term, and provision of the act of sale and the loan documents are hereby in each and every respect approved, ratified, and confirmed in each and every transaction affected or to be affected pursuant to and substantial accordance with the terms of the act of sale and the loan document, and such other documents are hereby in each and every respect authorized, approved, ratified, and confirmed, and it is further resolved that the corporation is authorized to guarantee the loans to the extent required by the act of sale and the loan documents, and is authorized to enter into executive deliver act of sale and loan documents, which it is a party, and that Tasha Clark Amar or Tasha Clark Amar individually acting as CEO, and the corporation is hereby authorized acting alone for and on behalf of and in the name of the corporation to cause the corporation to execute and deliver the act of sale and the loan documents as such other documents and instruments in connection therewith as may be necessary or desirable in performance of the duties and responsibilities as provided in the act of sale and the loan documents, and further resolve that all actions taken by Tasha Clark Amar as the CEO of the corporation acted alone to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolutions and the execution of the delivery of such instruments and documents as she believes are necessary for that purpose are hereby approved, ratified, confirmed in all respects. Signature page to the resolution. The Board of Directors of East Baton Rouge Parish Council on Aging, I certify that the foregoing resolution has been duly adopted by the Board of Directors of East Baton Rouge Council on Aging at a meeting duly noted and called, and the foregoing resolutions are in full force and effective this day, February 1st. This first date, February 2021. Secretary Jamie Robinson. Madam Chair, can we get a motion?
Yes, like to have a motion for the resolution of the Board of Directors.
I know.
I so move.
And I second.
Okay, it's been moved and second by Patricia Williams and is that Representative Marcel that we accept
What happened to
the
my
motion. It was who?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, we accept the motion for the.
I think
Board of
Pam second.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Okay.
Second by Ms. Pam Mitchell
Yes.
for the resolution of the Board of Directors. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, the resolution of the Board of Directors has been accepted. Thank you.
All right. Resolution of
Excuse me, Madam Chair. This is Jamie Robinson. I can't hear what's going on Zoom, but I'm hearing it through Facebook. I just want you guys to know that I am on, but I can hear myself right now through Facebook, but I can't see. I can see you guys on Zoom, just can't hear. But I want y'all to know I am on.
we got you. And Mr. Secretary, I'm reading in these resolutions for you.
Okay, and I'll be in the
Tasha,
signing.
Yes, yes.
do we need to do that discretionary non-substantive language for each one or just at the end for you?
What do you think, Kathy?
I think the further resolved paragraph at the end of these resolutions should be sufficient.
Okay.
Okay, just want to be sure we had that covered.
All right, the next one is the resolutions of guarantor. Resolution of the Board of Directors of East Baton Rouge Council on Aging. The undersigned being the corporate secretary of East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, Inc., a Louisiana nonprofit corporation. The company does hereby certify that the following resolution have been duly adopted by the Board of Directors of the company and are in full force and effect as of the date written below. Whereas the company wishes for Lotus Village GP LLC, a Louisiana limited liability company, the general partner, in which the company is a member, to develop the 116 unit low income housing project in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The project described in a letter of intended date, and we'll fill that in, the letter of intent issued by NEF Assignment Corporation, an Illinois not-for-profit corporation, in the manner and pursuant to the terms and conditions described in the letter of intent through the limited partnership in which the general partner will serve as general partner, and NEF Assignment Corporation, which is successor and or assigns NEF, shall serve as a limited partner. Whereas to induce NEF to invest as limited partner, the company has agreed to be a guarantor of the project and the guarantee the obligations of the general partner pursuant to the terms of any and all guarantee agreement required by NEF, including without limitation, the guarantee. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the company be and it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed as applicable to enter into, execute, and deliver the guarantee to NEF and to perform the duties and obligations required in the guarantee. Further resolved, the company be and it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed as applicable to enter into, execute and deliver a purchase option and first right of refusal with respect of the project, the option, and to perform the duties and obligations required in the option. Further resolved that the company be and it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to enter into, execute, and deliver the any and all of the foregoing documents. Further resolved that the company be, it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to furnish to NEF all due diligence materials required by NEF in connection with its investment in the partnership. Further resolved that the chief executive officer of the company be and hereby is authorized, empowered, and directed to execute any of the foregoing documents on behalf of the company to take such further action on behalf of the company as she deems necessary to effectuate the foregoing. Dated February 1st, 2021. Jamie Robinson being the corporate secretary of the company. Madam Chair, can we get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Can get a motion for the resolution of the gap.
You want to read? Or you and Tim want to read?
I make the motion to pass the resolution.
I second.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved in second by Chief Dunn and second by, who's that?
Kathy Coleman.
Miss Kathy? Okay, second by Kathy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The resolution passes. Thank you. Gonna move on
Which one?
to the next resolution.
Next resolution, resolution of the general partner.
You gotta mute you.
All right, and then Trudy gonna read the next, the long one, since you wanna help. Resolution of general partner, written consent of the members of Lotus Village GP LLC. The undersigned being the members of Lotus Village GP LLC, a Louisiana limited liability company, the company do hereby adopt the following resolutions. Whereas the company was organized for the purpose, among others, of developing and operating low-income housing, and whereas the company wishes to participate in the development of the 116-unit low-income housing project in Baton Rouge, the project described in a letter of intent dated, and it'll be dated, issued by NEF Assignment Corporation, an Illinois not-for-profit corporation, in the manner of and pursuant to the terms and conditions described in the letter of intent through a limited partnership in which the company will serve as general partner in NEF Assignment Corporation with its successor and or assigns shall serve as limited partner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the company be, and it is hereby authorized. Is this not the same thing? It's not the same thing? Okay. It is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to enter into, execute, and deliver the amended and restated limited partnership agreement, the agreement continuing Lotus Village LP, a Louisiana limited partnership, the partnership, and to approve, enter into, execute, and or deliver all documents associated with the agreement, including but not limited to the amended and restated development fee agreement, guarantee, general partner certification, purchase option, and first right of refusal, and to perform the duties and obligations required in any of them as applicable to the company in its capacity as general partner of the partnership. Further resolved that the company be, and it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to execute, deliver, file, and publish any required certificates with the state of Louisiana. Further resolved that the company be, it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to execute and deliver all of the project investment closing documents specified by NEF or otherwise requested by NEF in connection with its investment in the partnership, and that any manager or member of the company may execute and deliver any of the documents or agreements described herein on behalf of the company. Further resolved that the company be, and it is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to furnish to NEF all due diligence materials specified by or otherwise requested by NEF in connection with its investment in the partnership. Further resolved that any officer, member, or manager of the company be, and hereby is authorized, empowered, and directed to execute and deliver all documents, and that such officers, members, managers, or staff of the company be, and therefore authorized, empowered, and directed to furnish all materials necessary to consummate the formation of the partnership and the investment by NEF as limited partner thereof in accordance with the letter of intent and the agreement and the foregoing resolution, and that any previous execution and delivery or furnishing of documents, material by such officers, members, managers, or staff be, and it is hereby authorized and confirmed and ratified, and further resolved that any officer, member, or manager of the company be and is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to take such further action on behalf of the company as they deem necessary to effectuate the foregoing. Dated, and Kathy and I will both sign this, Gulf Coast Housing Partner, President Kathy F. LaBorde, and as well as me. We need a motion, Madam Chair.
Motion for general partners, please.
I make a motion that we pass the general partners memorandum.
Second, Representative Marshall.
It's been moved by Chief Dunn and second by Representative Marcel that we pass the motion for general, pass the resolution for general partners. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? No opposition? The motion passed. Okay,
All right, last but not least, Trudy got it? All right.
All right. Action by unanimous written consent of the manager and members. The undersigned and constituting the manager and the members of the Lotus Village GP LLC, a Louisiana limited liability company, the general partner, do hereby approve, authorize, and consent to the following actions as hereafter written. Whereas Lotus Village LP, a Louisiana limited partnership, the partnership is engaged in the acquisition, development, construction, and place into service of an affordable housing rental project to be known as the Lotus Village Senior Apartments located in East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana, the project. And whereas in the connection with the acquisition, construction, development, and operation of the project, the partnership proposes to finance the project with a construction to permanent loan, the bond loan from the proceeds of the issuance, sale, delivery to Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust Company, an Iowa State Chartered Banking Corporation, CRBT, of those certain multifamily housing revenue bonds issued by Louisiana Housing Corporation in its capacity as issuer, the issuer. Caption 12 million Louisiana Housing Corporation multifamily housing revenue drawdown bonds, Lotus Village Project, Series 2021, the bonds, an interest rate swap transaction by between the partnership and the CRBT, the swap, a community development block grant loan from the Louisiana Housing Corporation in its capacity as the lender, the LHC, and the original principal amount of 10 million in the CDBG loan, a subordinate loan from Gulf Coast Housing Partnership Incorporated, a Delaware nonprofit corporation, the GCHP, an original principal amount of $750,000, the Dallas AHP loan, and a subordinate loan from East Baton Rouge Council on Aging, Inc., a Louisiana nonprofit corporation, the corporation with the CRBT, the issuer, the LHC, the GCHP, and the corporation referred to herein as the project participants, and the original principal amount of, it will be, yes, the EBRCOA loan with the bond loan, the swap, the CDBG loan, the Dallas AHP loan, and the EBRCOA loan referred to herein as loans. Now and therefore be resolved, the general partner is hereby authorized to enter and deliver the Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, LLC, the manager, a Delaware limited liability company, and the manager of the general partner, which is the general partner of the partnership, is hereby authorized to execute and deliver to the necessary parties on behalf of its and the partnership of all documents necessary incidental to the loans, including without limitation, any required promissory note, financing agreement, loan agreement, bond purchase agreement, mortgage or pledge and security agreement, which mortgage and or pledge and security agreement may contain customary Louisiana terms and provisions, including but not limited to a due on sale clause, a confession of judgment, and other customary acquisition, disposition, waiver, or security clauses which would permit, among other matters, foreclosure or executor process under Louisiana law, pledge or assignment of rent and or leases, regulatory agreement, restrictive covenant, assignment, certificate, guarantee agreement, environmental indemnity agreement, reserve agreement, subordination and or inter-creditor agreement, disclosure agreement, swap agreement, or the like, and any other agreement required by any of the project participants in the connection with the loans. The loan documents, all in sole discretion of the manager. Further resolve, all prior acts of the partnership with respect to the loans are authorized and approved. Further resolved, the partnership is authorized to use the proceeds of the loans to construct, rehabilitate, develop, and operate the project. Further resolved, that the form, terms, and provisions of the loan documents are hereby in each and every respect approved, ratified, and confirmed, and each and every transaction affected or to be affected pursuant to in substantial accordance with the terms of the loan documents and such other documents are hereby in each and every respect authorized, approved, ratified, and confirmed. And it is further resolved that the general partner is authorized and acting on behalf of itself and on the behalf of the partnership to enter into the loan documents, to execute and deliver the loan documents that Kathleen F. Laborde, individually acting as the president and the CEO of the Gulf Coast Housing Partnership Incorporated, the sole member of the manager, is hereby authorized, acting alone for and on behalf of, in the name of the manager, to cause the general partner on behalf of the partnership to execute and deliver the loan documents and such other documents and instruments in connection therewith as may be necessary or desirable in the performance of the duties and responsibilities as provided for in the loan documents. And further resolve that all actions taken by Kathleen F. Laborde as the president and the CEO of the Gulf Coast Housing Partnership, Inc., the sole member of the manager, on behalf of the general partner, on behalf of itself, and on behalf of the partnership, acting alone to carry out the intent of the foregoing resolutions and the execution and delivery of such instruments and documents as she believes as necessary for that purpose are hereby approved, ratified, confirmed in all aspects. The signature page to this consent of the manager and members of the Lotus GP LLC. So resolved this first day of February 2021. Madam Chair, may I get a motion, please?
Can we get a motion for the approval?
I
I
so
have a
move.
question.
Somebody got a question?
Yes, I have a question. In this document, where the dollar sign is and no amount, is that also going to be filled out at closing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
No, this is Pam. I was going to move that the consent agreement be adopted.
Okay.
I second that motion.
It's been moved by Pam Mitchell that the consent agreement be adopted and second by Chief Carl Dunn. All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposition. The resolution has been approved.
Thank you. I want to just, Madam Chair, just take a moment of personal privilege and thank Ms. Laborde. She has worked tirelessly on this project, and she has taught us a lot about, I just thought you could just buy and build an apartment complex, but it's a lot. So we've learned about tax credit. We've been to bond meeting. We've been to planning and zoning. We've been to council meeting. And for the last, it looks like 20 days, we have really, really been in the trenches fighting everybody to get this project to fruition. And it seems as if that we will be able to start construction in the spring, right, Kathy?
Well, we hope to be starting this construction before the end of February.
February. That's better than I thought.
And if I may too, I really just want to thank you. I want to thank Tasha and her team members because it's taken a lot of time and effort and we're not done yet, but we're certainly going to get to the closing. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And Kathy, you free to stay and listen or whatever.
I'm going to, my husband just got out of hip surgery. He had, so I think he would like me to go visit him. So
please go visit him. Thank you
so much. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Kathy.
All right.
So thank you, and we're going to move on to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
We got another resolution.
Right.
Okay. This is, well, we've done this one before, Madam Chair. As you recall, in the beginning of this last term for our governor, we had a commitment when Dr. Gilmore was here from the Department of Transportation and Development to get, they awarded us 5 buses a year for 5 years. I want to say 4 or 5 years. I want to say we're in our 2nd or 3rd year of receiving these buses. Every year we have to pay, our percentage for the buses. And so this is the resolution for the next 5 that should be coming sometimes in late spring, early fall. I think that's when they come. Early fall. And so we'll get another delivery. We'll be up to, I think at this time we'll be up to 15, Madam Chair, 15, between 12 and 15 passenger buses and 1 30 passenger bus. Okay, and so this resolution is just authorizing us to receive those buses. And I'm gonna let Tim read this resolution. Come in through the tide of reading.
Authorizing resolution. Louisiana Department of Transportation.
Put your mic on. Let me cut mine down. All right.
Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, 5310, Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities. Resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for a grant under any of the following FTA programs managed through Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development. 49 CFR 5310 formula grants for the enhanced mobility of seniors with seniors and individuals with disabilities. Whereas the Secretary of the Transportation and Development is authorized to make grants for mass transportation projects. Whereas for a contract for financial assistance will impose certain obligations upon the applicant, including the provisions by its local share of the project cost. Whereas it is required by Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development in accordance with the provisions of Title V of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, that in connection with the filing of an application for assistance, that it will comply with the Title V of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the United States Department of Transportation requirements. Whereas it is the goal of the applicant that minority business enterprise will be utilized to the fullest extent possible in connection with this project, and that the definite procedures shall be established and administered to ensure minority businesses have the maximum feasible opportunity to compete for contracts when procuring construction contracts, supplies, equipment, or consult and other services. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council on Aging that the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to execute and file an application on behalf of the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to aid in the financing of and operating of and capital assistance projects pursuant to FTA transit programs. That the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to execute and file with such applications an insurance or any other document required by the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, effectuating the purposes of Title V and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. As amended, the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to furnish such additional information as the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development may require in connection with the application or the project. That the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to set and execute affirmative minority business policies in connection with the project's procurement needs. That the Chief Executive Officer is authorized to execute the grant contract agreements on behalf of the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the aid and financing of the operating or capital assistance projects. This resolution is applicable for a period of 1 year unless revoked by the governing body, and a copy of the revocation shall be furnished by the DOT. Certificate. The undersigned, duly qualified and acting board president of the East Baton Rouge Council on Agents, certifies that the foregoing is true, and a correct copy of the resolution adopted at a legally convened meeting of the East Baton Rouge Council on Agent held on February 1st, 2021. If an applicant has an official seal, it should be impressed with the signature.
Madam Chair, as a word.
Madam Chair, I have
Madam Chair,
one
we need a motion to
correction.
approve this resolution.
Throughout the resolution, Tim said Title 5 is actually Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act. Just make that correction. He read 5, but it's 6.
6.
Just
Okay,
for the record.
thank you.
Okay.
Wonder why they sent it in the resolution. Okay, we'll make that correction.
I
Okay.
see Title 6 on here.
Huh?
I said under 2, I see Title 6 of the.
Yeah,
Civil
6 is
Rights Act.
written, but he
But
read
he read-
5, and since he's reading into the record,
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
correct that.
okay. All right, Madam Chair, can we have a motion?
I so move that the authorization for resolution be adopted with the necessary corrections.
Okay, second,
I'll second that motion.
I
Okay.
have a question before we vote. What is our percentage of money that we'll be paying for this,
We,
or the amount?
Ms. Pratt,
What's her question?
what is the percentage? What is our percentage? Is it 20% that we pay for the buses?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's roughly how much?
And
I'm
it's
just
usually,
curious.
it's usually a little under 50,000. The last
Oh,
one we paid last
okay.
fall was like 47,000 or something for 5 buses.
Okay,
Yeah, it's about 10 a bus, but each bus is valued at about 70,000, 80,000, and they build
wow,
theirs
okay.
brand new. They come straight from the manufacturer.
Okay.
Okay.
there are no more questions? All those in favor of the motion for the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Showing no opposition, the resolution has been passed. Okay. We're going to move on. I'm sitting here looking at a letter from the Metropolitan Council, and all of you are aware that Attorney Dorothy Jackson did resign a few months ago, and she has moved out of town. So
Madam
therefore,
If I could for one, just for one moment, and yes, Attorney Jackson she did leave, but Ms. Coleman has paid particular interest to the Council on Aging here of late. She was very instrumental and helpful in getting our measures through planning and zoning. Lotus Village and Lotus Center sits in the district that she currently serves, and she just had a house condemned for us that's in the heart of the Lotus Village. And so she's met with with the architect, Ms. Laborde, and she's met with us on several occasions. We've given her a walkthrough of all the facilities. She took a tour, she walked the property of Lotus Village, and she wants to pick up the mantle, so to speak, for the council as it pertains to carrying forward our issues on the Metro Council. And so here's how she sent in the letter to you.
Who is that?
She is the newly elected Metro Council person for District 10.
Oh, Coleman. Okay.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt.
okay.
All
So
right.
Carolyn Coleman, the newly elected councilperson for District 10, has expressed an interest in joining the board. She has given me a 6-page resume, which I will not read because we've had so many resolutions today. But she has experience, extensive experience working with charter schools, the in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and she's also worked with East Baton Rouge Parish School System for many, many years with the Boys and Girls Club. She was the coordinator for the homeless. And may I say she was the coordinator for the homeless when I was there. She did a very good job. And she also was a master teacher. She's a language therapist. She was a secondary reading teacher, and she has other experience with audit teams and reading, summer counseling, and she's an educator with the 30 plus certificate, and she has done further studies and worked with public administration, public health organizations, informational systems, and nonprofit. So her organizational membership, so with the Audubon Girl Scouts, with the Community Association for the Welfare of Children, YWCA Public Policy, Democratic Party Executive Committee, and she's had numerous accomplishments with all of these different areas that she has worked with. And she said one of the better things that she had done was testifying before the Congressional Congress regarding homeless children and youth. And with that, I ask if you have any questions about Ms. Coleman becoming a member of the board. No questions? Comments?
Sound like to me she'll make an excellent member of the board.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the letter of consideration for Ms. Carolyn Coleman to be a member of the board.
I
I
second
second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Chief Dunn and second by
Representative Marcel.
Representative Marcel that Ms. Carolyn Coleman become a member of the Council on Aging Board. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Showing no opposition, Mrs. Carolyn Coleman will be a member of the Council on Aging Board beginning February 1st, 2021. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, just one last thing. As it pertains to the Governor's Office of Elderly Affairs sent out an addendum to their prior TAM, which is a technical assistant memo in reference to board members and board meetings. Basically what it says, and I'm gonna have Trudy to send it out to you all, because we are still in a pandemic and in phase two, because we've been moved back to phase 2. You know, we were in phase 3 and the governor moves us back to phase 2. Board members now may serve as long as the individual is willing, with no matter to term expiration. So right now, there are no term limits and you can serve to your pleasure. Board members may resign if they do want to, and they can be replaced within 60 to 90 days. So we have time to find a replacement for the father. And if anybody feels like they're tired, they can resign. Of course, GOA still has the right to remove them if board members are inactive. GOEA program monitors are actively working to update all board rosters for all councils. Board members can still be in place, and if we're having any issues, they will be reaching out to us. We will not be having any annual meetings. And the only thing that they ask is that we have our meetings now open to the public on Zoom. As you know, this meeting now is on Facebook, it's on the website, and we have it on Zoom. right? And it's on YouTube so that more people can access it. We also starting the next meeting we'll send out a form. If folks want to ask a question or say something in advance, they can fill it out on the website. The TAM also says that if possible, that we can put our meeting notices in what they call the journal of your parish, which is the Advocate, which I don't foresee us spending any money to announce board meetings in the Advocate. And so what we'll do is we'll send that to you. But for now, all officers can stay in position. All members can stay in their seat as long as they're willing. And so it will be my hope and prayer that just for the sake of this administration, that you all will consider staying in your seats, staying in your positions, and continuing to serve until at least we see our way through some of this pandemic, particularly because the council, even though there's a pandemic, we have a lot going on. You know, Kathy just said we're going to start construction at the end of February for Lotus Village. We are right now, as it relates to the admin building, the concrete is going in for the foundation. And the admin building is slated to be completed in October. And we have been thrust in the front of vaccination drive for all the seniors in this parish. Now we are not clinicians and we are not in the medical field, but somehow we're in the front of vaccines. And so I just got a call today that we're going to be doing a large mass vaccine drive with the mayor and with Senator Fields and some others that they want us to lead the forefront in as it relates to the seniors. And we're going to start a renovation for Homewood for the swimming pools. We also have to do Dumas House is slated to be complete the internal renovation. So this agency is busy, 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 and we still have more seniors that we can handle as it relates to meals and eating, virtual activities. So it would be my hope and prayer that everybody would stay in their positions, particularly my officers, my chairwomen, vice, and my secretary. Everybody would stay in their place. And that's really all I have, Madam Chair.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
For the vaccinations, will transportation be provided for those who can't get to the site? That's one of the questions that I've had.
Yes, ma'am. Are you talking about for tomorrow's vaccinations?
Well, not
or the ones that
future.
Yes, ma'am. We will provide transportation, and we provided transportation for the last few. Many of you may not know that we did 1,000 at the Lotus Center. We vaccinated 1,000 at the Lotus Center with Albertsons. Then we turned around and did another 100 with Albertsons, and then last week we did 100 at the Jewel J. Newman Center, and with the Office of Public Health. And so I think that we're looking to do, they're calling me now to do some more. And so, yes, but on all of those occasions, we provided transportation. So all I have to do is call the main office and we'll pick them up if need be. But we're only doing 4 to 5 people on the bus at a time for social distancing and, to protect the seniors.
Okay.
Okay.
Tasha, I have a question on our ethics training. Do we just go online and do it? Or does Trudy know?
Trudy can send you the link. She'll send you all the link today. Yes, please.
Because we need to stay up on that. My other question is, with our audit report, have we planned any kind of PR response if there's some question about the deficit? I understand. I mean, it's been explained very well.
Well, actually, we have I think it's a deficit relative to capital outlay, but we got a $3 million net positive. we just don't have the 6 million that we had last year. So the extra million
Okay.
is the difference between the 6 and the 3.
Okay.
And you can just ride around and see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
So-
you know, as Kathy said, we're going to close and we're about to give 1.4 of that back at the closing table.
But in reference to her question, Tasha, about a deficit,
Mhm.
that's only due to prior year commitments. And as long
Right,
as you have
right.
construction
And I
going,
understand that. I just didn't
okay,
feel like
but that
it
would
was
be your
very-
response. If anyone
Yeah.
should ask anything,
Yeah.
that would be your
Yeah.
response because
Just due to
it's
prior
prior
year
year capital outlay
Okay.
commitments. Mhm.
All righty, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to congratulate all of you
Amar
all.
did this, so, yeah, okay. Miss Amar, I'm sorry.
Oh, wait. Representative Marcel, let Ms. Pat Williams was speaking and then we'll finish with you. Go ahead, Ms.
Yeah,
Williams.
I would just like to congratulate the administration and everybody who's worked so hard with this. The best thing that I heard when the representative from Champaign was that we had a clear, clean bill. And
Yeah.
that's what we need to carry out to the public,
Yes,
that we have a clean slate. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Representative Marcel.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for all of your hard work and this board. Certainly been a pleasure, and I know it's been a task on you and your staff running all of those different projects, but nobody can tell Tasha nothing. She done got 7 or 8 shovels in the ground at one time. So thank you guys for your commitment to that. But I want to add that I'm sure that Senator Barrow and I are going to join in on the massive vaccine shot. So we can all come together as one and do it together. I spoke to her about some of the vaccine stuff, and we were supposed to get back. So I'll pass it on to her that we'll all be joining in together to make sure that we are partners on that event as well. But thank you all so much.
I think that's good.
Ma'am.
I think that's great because it's a segment of the population that has been missed, and we need to go back and catch them before these 3 strands get outrageous.
So when will you start testing
forward to
again?
Ma'am?
I just wonder, when will you start testing again for the first shot?
You mean testing to see if people are COVID positive?
No. When, that's not my question. When will you start giving the vaccine?
You're supposed to you get your second dose tomorrow.
You're talking about for the first shot.
No, I get my second dose on the 9th.
She had Moderna.
I had Moderna.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but my question was, when do you start giving the vaccine over there again?
We got some coming tomorrow. We have some coming tomorrow.
Okay.
The folks that receive Pfizer, they start tomorrow.
But these are the second shots, right, Tasha?
Second doses are tomorrow. Yes.
Okay.
Tasha, I just want to say, I think it is absolutely wonderful, the COA. I know it's a lot of extra work you weren't planning on, but
yes,
I really see this as part of our mission.
Yes, ma'am.
Because people are struggling to get those shots that are my age,
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I agree totally. Well, thank you all, Madam Chair. That's all I had. I appreciate you all.
Okay, I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for coming on today. And again, Tasha, I want to say thanks so much for working and getting those shots. I did have the privilege of coming down, and everything was done in such an orderly way that I've had people to call and say that everything was in order. Nobody standing in line, fussing or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So again, thank you and your team for all the support and everything they're doing for the seniors.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. Questions? No comments?
Now I gotta go see if I'm positive. They ran this thing on my nose and didn't leave me no information. My nerves bad.
Okay.
I saw you rubbing that nose, Tasha.
Yes,
I said, they got her good.
Look, Chief, I was trying to act strong on here because I was in front of this camera, but I want to say, ooh, girl.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, this meeting stands adjourned.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Miss Jerry.
Thanks, everybody. And good seeing everybody on Zoom.
See y'all.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.